Hi and welcome along to AFTV News Daily, the early edition. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are right now across the world. Tuned into AFTV. 4 days to go until the Premier League returns. Manchester City versus Arsenal. I cannot wait, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there cannot wait as well. Football season in the Premier League returning, and although it's going to be behind closed doors, although I'm not going to be able to be there, which is going to seem weird, for me, it's just going to be great to at least watch Arsenal in action. And don't forget, here on AFTV, we're going to be all over it. We're going to be giving you pre-match build-up. We're going to be giving you interviews after the game. We're going to be giving you pre-game lineups, everything. If you want to find out what's happening, you got to keep it locked here on AFTV. Starting from Monday next week, lots of build-up up until that game against Manchester City. An important game for Arsenal. Can we hit the ground running? Can we get 3 points? Can we get a point even? And keep that momentum going that we had before the whole lockdown thing began. But it's coming back. It's coming back. And, how long will it be before fans get to go back in? I was really looking at interest today that in New Zealand, they've got games of rugby, I think, being played today, where they've got fans back, just normal. Obviously, they've not, they've really dealt with this coronavirus crisis really well. I think they've only had 22 deaths attributed to the coronavirus. They really got it under control very, very early, and they haven't had any new cases for a while. So they've been able to presume as normal. But I look at that and I say, if we could get to a stage where we've reduced the deaths right down and we're not getting any new cases for a while, we could possibly see the return of fans back into a ground. How long off that is, I really don't know. Nobody can predict that, but it's just good to see that places are getting back to normal. When you see that, you think to yourself, that could be us if we get our act together. If we get the number of infections down, that could be us in the future. It's not going to be always like this. So that's the model to look at, even though, as I said, we've had 40,000 plus deaths here. It's been a tragedy what's happened in this country. Now, when the football does return, well, actually, just before I get to that, football yesterday did return in Italy. Now this football's returning in Spain, and there's more games in Spain again today. Football back in Italy. They had the Coppa Italia semi-final. Juventus playing against AC Milan. A boring 0-0 draw. Behind closed doors. I don't think, you would have thought that game like that would have been a great spectacle. Juventus winning in the end on penalties. That guy there, Cristiano Ronaldo, missing a penalty. But Juventus did prevail. They won on penalties and they go through to the final of the Coppa Italia. But football back in Italy. Remember, Italy, another country hit very, very hard by the coronavirus. One of the first countries in Europe to really get hit hard. Spain as well hit hard, and they're back as well. And as I said, the Premier League to return next week, Wednesday. And when the Premier League does return, they're going to be marking, the whole Black Lives Matter movement. They're going to be also paying tribute to the NHS as well. We've already seen that Arsenal players, donning different T-shirts and going down on one knee as a mark of, support and solidarity with the Black Lives Matters movement. There's talk now, well, not talk, the Premier League are going to be allowing players to wear on their shirts the Black Lives Matter name. So a player can replace on the back of their shirt, say Lacazette here, for instance, could take Lacazette off and just put Black Lives Matter on the back of his shirt instead of his name. The Premier League are also going to have a Black Lives Matter badge that's going to be displayed on all shirts. and also a badge that's going to be displayed on the shirts, which is a thank you to the NHS and also sort of a tribute to all of those people who've passed away from the coronavirus. So it's two really, really nice gestures there by the Premier League. I like to see stuff like that. That's great. However, I want to see more tangible things as well from the Premier League. And I've spoken about it a few times. That I'm talking about is representation at the very highest level when it comes to the Premier League. But it's a step in the right direction, and it's good to see. And we'll see that once football returns to the Premier League on Wednesday. Now, yesterday on last night's show, I had Joel on it from Cheeky Sport. It was a great show, actually. Great show last night. I got into a bit of a rant last night because I was just getting fed up of Arsenal, you know, and our transfer business. But watch that show from last night. It was a very enjoyable show. But we was talking about Aaron Ramsey. Now, Juventus, they only bought him. Well, they didn't buy him. They got him for nothing from us last season. But one of the sort of things they had to do in order to tempt Aaron Ramsey was to offer him some humongous wages, reportedly on about £400,000 a week. Now, he hasn't really played all the games this season because he had some injuries. When he has played, he's played well. But Juventus are said to be prepared to sell him this summer because they want to get those high £400,000 a week wages off their wage bill, because, of course, they're one of many clubs hit very hard by the whole coronavirus, and they're trying to get some of the players off their wage bill. So I was asking a question last night, would you have him back? He was very mixed. I think most people thought, you know, he's had his time at Arsenal. No, we don't want him back. The amount of money it would cost, etc. But you know, he may not be at Juventus next season. Could be maybe even a loan deal. Because I can't see him wanting to leave Juventus after just 1 year. You know, who's going to be able to match those £400,000 a week wages? Juventus were able to do that, of course, because they didn't have to pay us a transfer fee. They got him for free. And a lot of times when a player leaves a club for free, then he can negotiate a bigger wage because the club have not had to outlay, say, 30, 40 million to buy him. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Aaron Ramsey come the summer when the season finishes. But yeah, Juventus said to be willing to let him go to get him off the wage bill. And then there's also Philip Coutinho, we've been linked with ever since this whole pandemic started and the lockdown started. Coutinho is a name that keeps cropping up all the time. Now, Barcelona, which of course is the club he plays for, I know he's there. You watch it, you're seeing a picture of him there in a Bayern Munich shirt. He's been on loan at Bayern Munich. Hasn't done too badly there. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, he's flopped at Bayern." He hasn't. He's done okay there. But they're not going to renew his loan next season, which means he's got to go back to Barcelona. Barcelona desperately again. You know, as I said, these big clubs are in trouble as well with the whole pandemic. And, you know, imagine today Barcelona playing in front of an empty stadium. A stadium can hold nearly 100,000 people empty. They can't sustain that. They're trying to get players off the wage bill as well. Originally, they were demanding a £10 million loan fee for Coutinho and a team to pay all of his £250,000 a week wages. Hearing today now that they've gone back on that, they're going to remove the loan fee and they'd be willing to pay some of those wages so that they can get him off of the wage bill. So does that make him much more attractive now to, say, a team like Arsenal, who really could do with a player like Coutinho, who scores goals from midfield, something that we have been lacking all season? Would that be good if we could try and get that done? So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out during the summer. Remember, his agent is very close to the hierarchy at Arsenal. So be interesting. I do think he might end up in the Premier League. Whether it would be Arsenal or not, who knows with us? You really, really don't know. Rumours today about Lacazette, who's come back. He's played 2 games, 2 friendlies, scored in both of them, has looked sharp. But Lacazette, again being linked with moves away. There's reports that Lacazette is seeking assurances from Arsenal about, you know, playing time, etc. Next season. He has been a bit of a, well, I wouldn't say big part, but there's been a lot of games he started this season from the bench, especially under Emery. So he's not always been a starter. He's still got 2 years left on his current deal, but Atletico Madrid said to be one of those clubs that are interested in signing him. 29 now, Lacazette, but he's apparently seeking assurances of what's going to be happening with him playing time wise next season. That is according to the rumours that are flying around. And again, it'll be interesting to see how, because there's been a lot of talk that Arteta's sort of finding a new role and playing him in a kind of new way at Arsenal. So it's going to be interesting to see how he finishes the season. Can he finish the season off strongly? Can he put, you know, some really good games together from now till the end of the season? That's going to be very, very interesting to see. Arsenal could turn their attentions to Osman Edouard. I spoke about him a couple of days ago, about how he was saying that, you know, wants to stay at Celtic to do 10 in a row and stuff like that. However, a quote coming out from him yesterday, he was asked about, you know, all the linking him with Arsenal. And he said, these are his quotes. He said, "It is flattering, but I just concentrate on trying to play well for Celtic. That's what I'm focused on at the moment." And that would be your, what you more or less call the standard reply coming from a player asked that sort of question. Although a lot of times when players say it's flattering, that means there's a little bit of interest there. They're thinking to themselves, hey, you know what? Arsenal want me. If they come in for me, you know, 100% and they come in for me solidly, man, I'd be interested in that. You know what I mean? So flattering normally interprets to that, because a lot of times players will say, well, I'm concentrating on doing what I'm doing here. They leave the flattering part out. So should we read anything into that? Could he be a replacement for an Aubameyang or a Lacazette if he was to go? Going to be interesting to see. It's been done brilliant. I think it's 28 goals this season up there in Scotland, and has really been an integral part of their title-winning team. Now, what about Cedric Soares? We signed this guy in January, right? On loan, right back from Southampton. He's in the last year of his deal at Southampton. Since he's signed for Arsenal and come in January, when he came in, he had a knee injury, so couldn't play. Then we got the coronavirus pandemic. Then he seemingly, you know, has become fit. But then we've had 2 friendlies. He hasn't played in either of those. He's had this facial injury. You can see him wearing that face mask there. He's had a facial injury. At first I was hearing it was a broken nose. It's not a broken nose. Apparently, it's just a bad facial injury. He got the ball hit him in the face and it keeps swelling up, apparently. Hasn't played 1 game for Arsenal since his arrival at the club. And there's talk that Arsenal may not extend, or he might not, you know, they may not ask him to sign an extension, you know, at the end of the June when his loan deal runs out, and that's it. Then he goes. That would have meant he would have come in at Arsenal, not played a game. Not played a game. I think he's on 65 grand a week. Arsenal probably picking up half of that at the moment. Not played a game. He could leave the club in 2 weeks' time without playing and kicking a ball for Arsenal. Now, Arteta is said to be very keen on him. This is a rumor, by the way, right? Let's just have it right now. It's a rumor, so it may not be true. Arteta is said to be keen on him. It was Arteta who pushed to get him in January. So you would have thought Arteta does want to play him, but it'll be interesting to hear what news we hear on that, because as I said, could this be another one of those classic Arsenal signings? You know, you think Denis Suarez the year before came in January, barely played a game, said later on that he was injured. Kim Kallstrom signed with a broken back. You know, we've got a long string of these type of players that we bring in injured. Now, And I really want to see Cedric play, because I remember watching him playing when he was at Southampton and thinking he's a good player. Watching him playing for Portugal, thinking he's the business. I want to see if he can bring anything to the team, but we ain't played a game, not even a friendly. So I'm hoping that it's not true and that Cedric does get to play, but it's another one of those crazy Arsenal transfer situations where you'll go up to an Arsenal fan and they'll say, typical of us. Typical. Let's get into some of your comments. Apostolus says Cedric is more solid right back than Bellerin. I want to see it. I heard that, but I want to see it. We ain't seen him play a game. Oh, jeez. Thailand Smile says New Zealand has a population of only 5 million and has borders. It's an island. That's why we're an island as well, by the way. Here we may have a population of 60 million. This country, England, Britain, is an island. And look, 40,000 cases is how they dealt with it right from the beginning. I mean, obviously, smaller country. I know that. I'm just looking at New Zealand and I'm saying, it's an example that if you can get those cases right down and really get on top of this thing, things can return back to normal, and things have returned back to normal there. So, yeah. Dwight says, clips of you calling George Graham Judas emerged last night on Twitter. Stuart McFarlane, official Arsenal photographer, responded on Twitter saying, you're not a real Arsenal fan. Bellerin, now him. Stuart McFarlane, whoever, I'm not a real Arsenal fan. Go do one, right? You know, I've been supporting Arsenal all my life, and actually, that I haven't seen these things, but that's taken out of context. We did a video where we were looking at people that left, and I said George Graham is he Judas because he went to Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah. And at the time when he went to Tottenham Hotspur, a lot of people were calling him Judas. He went and managed Tottenham. So I don't really care what Stuart McFarlane thinks. Keep taking his photographs. Good luck to him. Moving on to John SC, he says, no need for Ramsey unless he agrees to a lower wage. Not more than 300k a week. And even that is high, in my opinion. That would be high. 300k a week. No, we couldn't take him back at that. No chance. Ilias says, morning, Robbie. Why would Ramsey be away on a free and then go and buy him back 1 year later? It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think it. Listen, I don't think it's going to be. That's going to happen. I did put it out there yesterday and say, you know, should we take Ramsey back? The majority of people are saying no, and it wouldn't make any sense for us to make a player go out on a free and then to buy him back. But what I was saying is, what if it was like maybe a loan deal? Now, if it was a loan deal, might be worth looking at it because he scores goals. So, you know, Champ 7 says, Robbie, I want Edison to get injured during training before the game, and want Bravo to get a red card in the first 10 minutes and Walker subbing in as a goalkeeper. Yeah, I never wish injury on players of other clubs, even though, you're going to see it would help us out if players are in. I never like to see that. Let's go out there and beat a team fair and square on the pitch. That's what I like to do. Shivam says, Robbie, it's my birthday today. Happy birthday going out to you. Well done to you, sir. I hope you enjoy your day. Tades says, Robbie, Saka played in centre midfielder against Brentford the other day. What do you think about this? And do you see Arteta using him there in a real game? Arteta did say that, listen, he goes, he's experimenting with a lot of different things. So I wouldn't look too much into that. He's having a look at it. I didn't get to see enough of that game to know whether that worked or not. So, you know. Vincent says Ramsey is a 150k a week player at best. So let's just say a loan deal was available for that. Would we take him? Why would he want to leave? You wouldn't want to leave, would you? You're on 400 grand a week. You know, it's all right for Juventus to say, yeah, they want to sell him, but the player's got to want to leave. And why would he want to leave? You know, not going to leave, is he? Dan says, so far, Arteta's tactics have been reactive to the situation. Will be exciting to see what he really wants to do with his team. And Dipu says, give Ozil and get Rambo as a swap deal. A few people were suggesting that yesterday. Tekker's back says, when will William Saliba be at Arsenal? He's officially at the end of this month an Arsenal player, but you know, because his loan move will be up, but he's not able to play until next season. That is official. Mehdi says, what academy player would you most like to see in the first team next season? Well, I'm excited about this Balogun. It'd be exciting to see if he comes through. I'm also looking at Smith Rowe and saying, should we get him back next season? You know, seems to have done really, really well on loan. I've always really, really rated him as a player. Wouldn't mind seeing him in the first team next season. Lemon Squash says, Robbie, we are going to buy Ramsey for 20 million, then sell him for a free again. Yeah, listen, nothing would surprise me with Arsenal, but I think that, listen, we're not going to get Ramsey back. I'd be very shocked. Only way I could see something like that happen would have to be some sort of loan deal. Quasim says, what do you think of Benatia, the player we had? He's now linked with Man City and Madrid. Why do we let our players go like that? He's been playing very, very well. The one thing I would say, let's just have it right. It's not just Arsenal alone that have had young players that they've let go and then they've gone on to do, you know, because sometimes you can have a player and he hasn't really developed yet. And it could be a number of things. He's not ready yet, maybe. He's not, you can see he's good, but he's not good enough for week in, week out in the first team. And then another club comes along and then the player says to himself, you know what, I just want to play week in, week out. And they leave the club and, you know, they go on to do big things. Because even the Serge Gnabry thing, when you look at the Serge Gnabry situation, it wasn't like Arsenal, they sent him out on loan, it didn't work out. Remember, he had a really bad injury as well. Then they sent him out on loan, didn't work out at West Brom. And when he came back from loan, Arsenal wanted to keep him. They said to him, listen, we want you to sign a new deal. But as Serge Gnabry's contract was running out, and he said, no, actually, I don't want to sign a new deal because I want to play now. I want to play week in, week out. Now, remember, he just come off a really bad loan deal from West Brom. And you've got a kid that's saying, I want to play week in, week out. I don't want to sign a new deal. So you've got to take the money for him. And he's gone on and to do brilliant things. I think it's more in the Serge Gnabry case, I kind of feel it was more a case of just timing why we weren't able to keep hold of him, because he got that really bad injury that kept him out for so long. Calvin says, hi, Robbie. I don't see the Ramsey deal happening. It's more likely we'll get Coutinho. I prefer him over Ramsey anyway. Coutinho would bring so much quality to our midfield attack. Flip says, good morning, Caesar, Robbie. I wanted to ask you, who do you think will get relegated? Does Norwich have a chance of getting out of the drop zone, or are they doomed for championship? Love from Czechia. I think Norwich. Yeah, I think Norwich have got real problems. I can't see Norwich getting out of it. You know, I think the behind closed doors things really goes against clubs like Norwich, because they're not going to be able to have their fans in to give them that extra, you know, 10, 15% that they might need to get them over the line in certain games. Presnav says, Robbie, would you trade Laka for for Partey or Coutinho if you had to pick one? I think I'd go Partey, I think, because, you know, solidifying up that midfield and the spine would be more important. Quan says, hi, Robbie. Coutinho and Ramsey, if Arsenal can only get one of them, who would you prefer? And he says, love from Malaysia. Coutinho, because Ramsey's been here. We've moved on from Ramsey. Coutinho would bring some nice freshness to the team. And he's played in the Premier League before, and he's a goal scorer from midfield. And I think we could really benefit from a player like that. Surav says, fans in the Premier League are obsessed with transfers. They don't want to see youngsters given a chance. Arsenal are one of a few teams that gives youngsters a chance. That is very true. Pranav says, hopefully Aubameyang looks at what happened with Ramsey and Alexis and realizes that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Also, big up Leno. He's our player of the season, world class. Leno has been good, and we're going to need Leno against Manchester City. Players like Leno are going to be important in that game against Manchester City because we will be under severe attack. So, you know, he's going to be very, very important in that game. This guy says, hey, Robbie, what do you think of the Chelsea signings and what do you think of their chances? Well, listen, remember, they've only made the signing of Ziyech so far. They haven't actually signed Werner yet, but if they get the Werner one done and some of the other players they're looking at, they're going to be a force next season. You know, they're spending big. And, you know, as I've said quite a lot of times here on the show, they're benefiting a lot from the transfer ban that, you know, that they had. Now they've got a lot of money to spend. Champ7 says, don't want Cedric to leave without a game. I think Arteta should give him a start against Norwich, but against City, obviously Bellerin. I just want to see this guy play. You haven't seen him play yet, man. It's just unbelievable. Dipu says, Felipe Anderson would be a great signing. Felipe Anderson, I thought to myself at first, when I saw him play first season at West Ham, I was like, wow, what a player. He'd be perfect at Arsenal. This season, however, he's had a poor season. You speak to West Ham fans, they haven't been happy with him at all. So is he one of them sort of flaky players? I really don't know. Nayan says, hey, Don Robbie, do you think that we've got any chance against City? Got a chance. It's not. They're the favourites, easily the favourites. They're a better team than us. They came to the Emirates, they embarrassed us. I mean, you know, that in that game, you know, game was over at half time and they were just in cruise control. We're going to have to play so well, but we got a chance. We've got Arteta, who's going to know all about Man City and what they're going to bring and how they're going to approach the game. It's behind closed doors, so it's unknown territory and going to be strange for both teams. And I suppose City, unlike last year or even earlier on in the season when we played them, they're not really chasing the title. So will that dip them a bit? The only thing I would say, listen, is Pep Guardiola, and the guy always prepares his teams to the max. So, yeah, there's a chance you've got to favour City for the game, if you're being honest. Prince of Peace Media says, what do you think about Zaha if Aubameyang leaves? He scored 10 goals last season, providing about 5 pens. No, I think now that we've got Pepe in, I think the Zaha thing, I think that's sailed. Guna Gamer TV says, morning, Robbie. The Coutinho loan deal excites me. The Ramsey deal angers me. And he says, Robbie, can you please give a shout out to my son, Shaqiri, and daughters Maya? They love the show. They love it. So big shout out to Shaqiri and Maya. Big up to you two. Keeping it going with your comments pouring in. Champ7 again says, Atletico want Laka and we want Partey. So I would prefer to swap a swap deal. Also love to get Coutinho on a loan deal. I think the Coutinho thing on a loan deal, the more you look on it, it's doable. If they're dropping their prices and stuff like that, it's going to be what sort of budget do we have to spend on them sort of deals. It's going to be interesting to see. David says, Robbie, as crazy as this sounds, Arsenal just need one top centre-back brought in to suddenly make the defence quite good. A top centre-back, Saliba, Tierney and Hector Bellerin. Yeah, I mean, listen, on paper that looks great. And you're right, you know, if we had a really top centre-back to add with experience, that would be brilliant. But, you know, where is that top centre-back? How much would that top centre-back cost? I always look on it and I say there's one obvious player out there that would improve Arsenal so much and would be perfect next to, say, a Saliba, and that for me would be Koulibaly. But it'd be ridiculous amounts of money to get done. And, you know, so obviously you probably have to look for a more sort of younger type of player that's going to probably develop into be that person because of the lack of money we've got to spend in that era. Last couple of ones I'm going to do here. Let me just see. Alexander Wan says, Robbie, did you see the video on United Stand about Bruno and Pogba partnership where they called Arsenal a mid-table team? Well, when I remember rightly, and, you know, remind Goldbridge and Flex and that over there, we played Man United twice this season and they haven't beaten us and we've beaten them once. So I don't know where they're getting that from. You know what I mean? They need to pipe down with that one. It ain't been a great season. They're getting carried away as them over there as well. Potentially, listen, looks like a great midfield, doesn't it? You know, but what have they done this season? And I'm going to do the last one here. Banji John says, hey, Don Robbie, do you remember the most sought-after midfielder in Europe? Yes, he ended up at Fulham, and they got relegated that season. Thomas Partey, I mean, Jean-Michel Seri. Remember that? And that's a good point. And there was a lot of people saying, get Seri, he'd be perfect. And didn't work out, did it? Seri, like he said, Fulham ended up getting relegated. Seri, I don't even know where he is. I didn't even think he's at Fulham no more. So it's true. Not all signings always work out. Listen, thanks for watching the show today. Have yourself a fantastic day. Remember, 4 days to go until Arsenal return. The best coverage of it is going to be right here for all Gooners. Make sure you check it out. And I'll see you later on with the evening show.